Good day.
Hi there, how you doing?
Good, good, good. How are you? Happy New Year.
I'm pretty good. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
pretty good. It's like 20 below outside, but not inside, so I'm good.
that's good. We got like 0 outside. Yeah, it's pretty chilly. You're in
Yeah,
Wisconsin?
that's right. Yeah.
Okay. How close to Viroqua?
Uh, 15 minutes.
Ah, you know Ben Hansen? Of course, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's how I got introduced to Viroqua a long time ago when I was back at back at Wisconsin. Yeah,
Oh, cool.
yeah, um, yeah, man. So yeah, I mean, let's check in on potential collaboration stuff. So our work revolves around open sourcing, basically documenting, uh, empowering know-how. So it's like fully open source, all of that kind of stuff. We've
Yep.
done open source machines. So we're selling homes now. So that's what we're doing too. We're building the CDECO homes, super radical efficient build model with modular construction, expertise embedded build systems. Our cost is 100K compared to 180K industry standard for like a standard 3 bed 2 bath kind of a thing.
And that does that include labor costs?
Yeah, 60K materials,
Yeah.
40K labor. So it's like
Yeah,
radical,
sweet.
just radical.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, and starting the Future Builders Academy, people going in for apprenticeships, which is more like induction than apprenticeship. I don't know if you've
Yeah.
heard the word induction. Does that word make any sense to you?
It does. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. Starting May 1st or even June 1st this year. I mean, we're getting ready for some big programming this year.
Cool.
Trying to get people into the construction part, but that's, man, hard sell. So we started September. It's like nobody's signing up. So we're trying to see
Okay.
how to make it more palatable, but it seems like simply construction, no go, too hard, too much
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
for anybody. I mean, you know, like all the eco elites and all that. You know, we want to play around R&D stuff and think of saving the
Right.
world, but when it comes down to it,
When it
okay,
comes down to getting your hands dirty, it's a whole different ball game.
yeah, yeah. So trying to address that. But tell me more. So yeah, I mean, if you've seen the TED Talk and you've seen that, there's 2028 is still. I mean, it is inching on 2 or 3 years, but we're
Yeah.
talking about with the current model scale like crazy, like literally 10x over the next year or so. But to the point that given that we have only the house finished and there's all the 50 machines, it's literally like a million a pop. So it's like we want to get to
Yeah.
50 million of revenue within a few years to actually boost, like completely finish it to product release, not just like here's a one-off thing or like a replicable product, but also a proven business model. We've done that
Uh-huh.
100% with the house, so we're going to do that
Yeah.
to everything else. So that's where we're at.
Okay.
For the summer, yeah, I mean the agriculture open source. We haven't. I told you we're going to start returning to it this year. I mean that's how we started with broken tractors and stuff like that. Done
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
bunch of stuff. I mean I got Phil Rudder's. You know Phil Rudder, of course, right?
Yeah. Of course.
I've got
Yeah.
his nuts growing here. I've got about 50 survivors from his leading cutting edge breeding stock.
Okay. Cool.
We've done everything: cows, pigs, chickens. We've got agriculture, integrated agriculture, aquaponics. Yeah. So with all of that said, it's like the ask or collaboration point would be, okay, well let's keep open sourcing that. Like for example with aquaponic greenhouse, yeah, we did it. I don't know if you've seen any of the pictures, but then again, to take it to enterprise level, actual a
Right.
full integrated ecosystem, I mean that is hard. That's like a few
That's
PhDs
right.
and stuff. So
Yeah.
so that's
Yeah.
where we're at. But trying to collect all the know-how from everybody around to make this happen. And as we go in the school, our dedicated teams would actually work with people and basically do documentation and testing. Like, okay, so document it, actually build it, test it, and distribute it, kind of a thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That all makes sense.
yeah, how about you? So what are you up to these days? Like, so you are you innovating these days? What are you innovating on?
Yeah. So I mean, the economic landscape changes really fast. So trying to keep, it's like as soon as we get our farm up to a place where it's like, okay, we're like right where we want to be, it's like COVID hits or inflation.
Oh,
It's like all these things. So it's just constant adaptation, right?
mm,
So adapting models to stay sufficiently profitable is like the name of the game. So we're in a new phase of adaptation. Um, we're trying to sort of decentralize some of the ownership structures of the farm. So I'm looking at, um, you know, right now, if you want to get decent genetics of a cow, you're gonna spend $5,000 on a cow, and it's like the payback time on that is like, I mean, it's a
Hmm.
long time, if ever. The
Huh.
market is just the market is just completely insane right now. Our processing costs have gone through the roof. It's triple what it was, 6 years ago to get a steer processed
Holy cow.
in a USDA plant where I can ship the meat, nationwide. And so
Hmm.
we're looking at so we can grow. We can't really grow right now because it's not a cash flow positive investment. But if we can decentralize that investment, that's kind of what we're looking at in terms of basically having our customers own the cattle themselves, the breeding stock, where they would then get a sort of a dividend of meat each year, but would have the opportunity to basically buy as much meat as they wanted from that animal produces at basically the cost of production, which includes labor. So we're in the early stages of putting that together and hoping to launch that model this coming season.
Are you saying about
So I
your stock, your genetics, or from all over?
Yes.
Hmm.
Well, our stock. So my existing stock to prove the model to see if it works. If we can get something that seems to work, then that would provide a mechanism for growth.
So tell me just more details. Like, give me some numbers and.
So right now so I have a fairly limited land base. We have 250 acres, but half of that is really steep wooded hillside, very low productivity. It's woods. We've got about 120 acres of pasture and hayfield. We have a herd of red Devon cattle. We fluctuate between 10 and 15 cows. Then we keep their calves, we keep the yearlings, and then we finish out the 2-year-olds for beef. That's not enough for my market, so I buy calves in addition to that each year, although that's become prohibitively expensive in the last 18 months. Um, and we also produce pastured pork, we produce pastured chicken, and then we sell all of the meat through a CSA. But I call it a CSA, it's really a subscription program. We have multiple tiers. People sign up. It's a monthly subscription program. They get kind of a customized bundle each month. We do some local delivery, but most of it goes out with UPS. We ship regionally. We can do 1 day ground, and we don't need dry ice for that. Dry ice is prohibitively expensive. It's really far away. I use ultra low temperature freezers, like lab freezer for storing vaccines, to get meat down to like -80. Then I can put it in an insulated box, no dry ice, and it stays frozen for 2 days, no problem. So that system we've been doing for the last 10 years, it's been working really well. But like I said, all of our costs are going up. I'm kind of at the upper limit of what I can charge per pound for meat. So we're just trying to innovate creative ways of both lowering input costs, but also, you know, we have a lot of our capital is locked up in equity, and so finding ways of creative solutions to free up more capital for other projects on the farm, building projects, for example, that are kind of all. I've got a lot of projects that have started and I've kind of flushed out. I can't really do anything right now because I just don't have the cash flow. So we're trying to free up some capital, working capital, to develop some more infrastructure here on the farm to be able to host larger courses and stuff like that. We used to do a lot of that, and I'd like to get back into that.
Huh. So how does distributing the gene pool? Tell me more about that model. How does that look?
Basically, the idea is I would propose that people could buy a cow, say for $5,000, and then they would be the details I haven't quite fleshed out yet, but it would be something like you buy a cow. Uh, we're going to say like over the age of that cow, we're going to say on average she's going to live 6 years or 8 years. She's going to produce 6 calves. Um, Maybe she might lose one of those calves. We got to think about mortality. So you get 5 calves, maybe 2 of those are females, 3 of them are males, something like that. And so then basically you're going to be entitled to a percentage of the meat that comes from that. But we have pretty high annual operating cost, being that we're in the frozen tundra and half the year we're feeding hay. Hay is extremely variable in price. It could go from $30 a bale to $180 a bale. I've paid both of those in the
Holy cow.
last 3 years, back and forth.
Huh.
So figuring that into a business model is really tricky, because like that's a huge difference when you times it by, say, 50 or 60 head. You're talking the difference between 5,000 a year or 50,000 a year in expenses. So
Whoa.
there's got to be some level of uh, dynamic pricing, where each year perhaps there's like a report, a budget comes out, and then if you're for the owner of the cow, they're going to get some dividend back in meat that's basically free. But then above that, we would expect people to buy, say, a quarter of a cow, that they would basically get at a lower than market rate. They're just
If they bu-
paying the expenses necessary to produce that quarter.
So are they
So
paying the 5K for the cow and then operating costs at that point, or it's like, no, that's on you guys? No, they got to be involved in it
no,
in the future, right?
they would be paying a small percentage of the operating cost based on how much meat they want. If they don't really want any meat, if they just want to have it kind of as an investment, because they do produce. So one of the pathways I could see this going as we're going to be growing replacements. This cow's life, she's going to have 2 or 3 females. They can be, if they're good genetics, they can be replacements. So that it could be something that is like in perpetuity. This equity share doesn't lose value if you price in the replacement costs. And so, yeah, that's just one of the possible. It gets really complicated once you get into the details, and that's something I haven't super fleshed out. There's a guy down in Oklahoma, Smoke River Ranch, Joel Hollingsdale. He's put out a model called the herd share a couple years ago. It's super complicated. A lot of it's just super complicated. I'm hoping to be able to come up with something that's like the average person can kind of wrap their head around without having to sort of hire a lawyer to look at the papers.
When at the redemption, so 5K plus share of meat, what are you accounting for the meat cost per pound for the person who buys into the distributed program? Like, how are you costing, like, what, $10 a pound, $5?
It would probably be somewhere around $10 a pound. Again, we can bring those costs down quite a bit because they own the cow. We don't have to go full USDA for processing. I mean, if I hire my Amish neighbor, he can do a steer for $200. If I take it to the USDA processor, it's $1,000 for the same cutting. So that's like a huge change. So one of the things we've been trying to figure out is, from the meat processing side, right now we go full USDA. It's incredibly expensive, and so creative ways of structuring arrangements with members of the CSA. I could have them, right now they sign up for a share. Let's say it's $10 a pound every month for a year. I could say, well, instead of you signing up for a subscription, yes, you're going to pay me monthly, but you're actually buying a quarter of a cow, a half a hog, and 10 chickens. At which case, if on paper they are signing up to purchase whole animals in that sense, then we don't have to do USDA processing. I'm not selling them chunks of meat. I'm distributing their share of an animal that they purchased. So we've been
is that
looking.
tricky, or like that mechanism that's tricky? Is that tricky legally, or is it tricky executionally?
I think the legal element of it is fairly straightforward.
Okay.
I do think there's a little bit of gray area in there, especially when executing contracts online over a distance when there's multiple states involved. And then executionally, it's complicated too, although I think that's more doable, especially if you can build some. The problem is like the way I do it now is it's highly flexible. Like I get to choose what goes in everybody's bundle. So I can be responsive to my very dynamic inventory. Like inventory is changing all the time. Sometimes I have a lot of something. Sometimes I have none of one cut or another. So I can be flexible. If I'm doing it that way, I'm going to have a lot less flexibility in that. So executionally, it is more challenging, more complicated.
Is labor a big deal for you in terms of the operation on the ground?
It's a huge deal. I would say it's the number one constraint to being able to scale or do any, to grow, to do anything in addition to what I've like already done. Like for the last 10 years, I've maxed out. I've gotten super efficient at what I do. I can do a lot in my days, but I'm limited. And last year I had some good help. The year before that, it was just total crap. The year before that, it was total crap. So getting good help is like the hardest thing that that's like a nut I haven't cracked. Like I don't know how to reliably year after year. It's just like every once in a while you get a really good guy shows up and you can rock and roll and get a lot done. And then sometimes you just have guys show up and they're complete headaches and you get less work done than you otherwise would have if you were on your own because you're spending so much time, cleaning up messes. And so
is there any hope
I'm
for,
sure that I'm sure you've had similar experiences.
Same. Appropriate automation, is that any deal like fully roboticized bullshit with AI?
Yeah.
Is that a solution or absolutely not? Assume that's at zero marginal cost.
I mean, potentially for some elements. I mean, if like maintaining fence lines or clearing rose bushes off of electric fence lines that they're grounding them out, like if that could be automated, going and checking and seeing where and maybe even like some of the brush clearing work up on steep slopes, I have seen some. I haven't seen with my eyes, but I've seen some videos of some pretty impressive like automated forestry mowers. But in terms of, but a lot of it is very ad hoc work that would be hard to automate.
Are you doing milking as well? Milk cows? No.
Generally we have one for our homestead that my wife takes care of with the kids. We don't sell milk. That's not a part of like the business.
Yeah.
Wisconsin is the dairy state. We have the most restrictive laws. 100% of it is contraband. There's no like legal workaround to sell raw milk. It's like really difficult to do in this state.
Not even by a share?
No, there's no legal way to do it. Now the state Department of Agriculture hasn't been going after people. There was a high profile case 10 years ago with an Amish guy. And basically since then, there was such public outcry that the state was just like, we're not going to prosecute these cases. But like on the books, it's technically still illegal. People are doing it all over the place, but it's not legal. And the state could turn around and decide to start prosecuting again. There would be huge public backlash if they do it, and which is why they haven't. But it's possible.
So you're saying that same model for distributed beef, you can't do that for distributed milk?
That's right.
Holy cow! Did this change since about 2000? Or was that always like that? Because I think I was getting raw milk in Madison.
There's always raw milk available in Wisconsin. You can get it anywhere. I mean, it's everywhere. I'm just saying that according to the State Department of Agriculture, it's technically illegal.
Okay.
They've just chosen not to prosecute at this time.
And the processing, what would it take to do okay, so levels of like mobile abattoir versus like fully USDA stuff. Tell me more about that.
Yeah.
What's the opportunities there? Like what would it take to do a mobile USDA approved thing? What's required?
USDA approved.
Yep.
USDA approved is much more restrictive. I don't know because you have to be USDA, you have to have like an office for the USDA inspector and a shower for them. So I don't know of any mobile ones. There's one, and there's another one in the works in Wisconsin, mobile state inspected, where they have a truck that's built out to the state specs, and then basically that company has to coordinate with the state inspectors for each appointment. And we've done that at our farm. We did that exclusively for like 4 years until they kind of screwed us over when COVID hit. But that works pretty well. Now, for a federally inspected, that's a whole different ballgame. I do know that Mike Calicrate has one of those out in Colorado. It's basically built into a semi truck trailer, and he's got I'm pretty sure it's fully USDA, but it's a big deal. I mean, it's not a I wouldn't call it a micro scale. It's large scale, and he basically has a huge CAFO, but he does all the processing himself, and he has his own branded beef, and he has his own stores in like Denver, Colorado Springs area. Ranch Food Direct is what that's called, and he does all of his own processing and marketing and distributing. But he's a pretty large scale confined animal feedlot.
Tell me the distinction between state and federal. State you can do within state, but federal you can go across state lines. Is
That's
that the
exactly
only
right.
difference?
That's the only difference is crossing state lines to sell meat. The USDA Prime Act, which Tom Massey in Kentucky has been pushing for like 5 years, basically amends the federal law to say that state inspected meat can be sold across neighboring state lines. So I could sell my beef across the Mississippi River 20 miles to the east or to the west into Minnesota, with if the Prime Act passes. That's been dead on arrival. He's gotten co-sponsors. He's never gotten it to a vote. The big meat industry is fully against it. And so it's basically gotten zero traction in the House of Representatives, unfortunately, because there's a lot of popular support for it.
Mike Calcrate's operation, a single semi handles USDA, or that's a part of it.
That's a question mark. I toured his place about 12 years ago, and I just don't remember some of those details.
Because we're into public infrastructure development, so that's the concept of universal. Like there's universal basic income, there's universal basic
Yes.
assets, meaning public
Yep.
productive infrastructures. That's what we're about.
Yep.
That's the next economy. So
Totally.
wondering, can you give me like how do we for the state inspected one versus federal? Like, can you school me in on maybe send me some docs on what exactly is required for that and what the typical cost is? Because it's like no brainer is okay. We invest in that, we make it available public resource.
Yeah, I just know that with and actually I'm getting ready to hop on a call with among other people, this guy named Greg Gunthorpe, which has a huge regenerative hog operation in Indiana, and he built out his own USDA facility on his farm, and he would know those details way better than me. But it's essentially you have to file. I know it's something in the neighborhood of like $250,000 to process the paperwork to apply to get the USDA. You have to have HACCP plans for everything.
What
There's
kind of
just
plans?
a lot
Sorry,
more.
what kind of plans?
HACCP. It's like a hazard, HAACP, I believe. It's like a hazard analysis comprehensive plan. And you have to have one of those filed for everything that you produce. So like my processor, I asked if we could if we could add some liver into the ground. So like 5% liver into the ground beef. And he said, well, we don't have a HACCP plan for that. We can't do that. So like every single recipe, everything they do has to have its own plan. So that just gets really expensive because you have to pay to file those plans. So
But as far as capital,
there's just
so 250K has a plan. What else?
and then the big difference is that I understand is basically housing the inspector. Like they have to have their own office, they have to have their own shower.
Oh, excellent! We're doing a favela construction set. No, 10 by 12 mobile. Yeah. So what we're doing actually for housing right now is 10 by 12 units that can be stacked up to 4 high with a telehandler, so that we can basically do on-demand housing for a scalable village. Because the next step
That's so cool.
is a Civilization 100 experiment with 100 people.
What are the dimensions of that? Did you
10
say
by
10 by
12 feet.
12?
One.
So you could put it on a trailer.
Yeah.
You could put two next to each other on a trailer.
Yep. There's a unique part count of 1 for the structural framing. 2x6s handle the entire structure, so it's
Yep.
like super simple. But anyway, no, this is exciting. In terms of a mobile abattoir thing, like when you say that, are there versions which are like subcode, which means like say you do a small amount, like under 1,000 chickens or whatever, then you can do that, and that's much less restrictive. And do you have use for that, or have you used that, or?
Yeah, so there's like multiple tiers. So the bottom tier, well, the bottom tier would be just the complete underground butcher, like my Amish friend, and he just basically does butcher work within the Amish community,
Uh-huh.
and it's unbelievably cheap, and it's just him and his kids that do it in a little shed that he built, purpose built for that task. Um, but then you can get custom exempt. That's like the lowest recognized form, which is for your animal for your use. So the butcher comes out to your farm, will kill the animal, and will butcher it right there in a trailer, and has to put the custom exempt logo on it, which says like not for resale, and that's legal, but you can't sell the meat.
Yeah.
And then the next step from that is the state inspected. Most of those are brick and mortar butcher shops, but there are in Wisconsin. There's at least one mobile unit, which is really cool. It's on a big box truck. It's a really slick. He can hang, I think, 5 steers in the front, and that's like kind of the max capacity of what they can do at one shot before they have to go drive back to their butcher shop to unload the carcasses. And then obviously up from there is the federal one.
So, for example, like in Missouri, under 1,000 chickens, we'd still have to do something like custom exempt. Is that what it looks like?
Yeah, well, the same thing. That's a state by state thing. We have the same. I think a lot of states are at that 1,000. You can do whatever you want. You can do it yourself with a hatchet. I mean, there's no restriction if it's under 1,000 on farm. It's when you go above 1,000 or you take them off farm that then you have to go to some kind of inspected facility.
What if you go to private operations elsewhere and you serve them, like help them for pay? That's not allowed if you have your own operate. Like my neighbor, I want to go to them. They pay me, or we barter. Is that legal or?
Yeah, I don't think that's technically legal. No.
So once you start doing outside of yourself, then you get into.
I think you could bring them onto your farm to do it technically, and that would be fine. You could pay them to do it. I think technically it's supposed to be done on farm to get that 1,000 bird exemption.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Are you actually working on any development of the mobile infrastructures? Like, I mean, so you're talking to this guy right now. What are you guys talking about? What's the points of development there?
We haven't been talking about mobile infrastructure. This is a kind of another more like it's a larger group of people putting together like sort of like higher level federal policy papers, trying to push the feds in more reasonable directions. So that's what this group is about. But I haven't been doing it. I'm in a really fortunate location. I've got 2 USDA plants within 20 miles of me, plus 3 state plants, plus the mobile. But it is, there's more and more of the people on the land are at smaller scales, trying to do smaller things. They often don't have infrastructure. So having small mobile butcher facilities, both for small ruminants, for large ruminants, and for poultry. And, every few years there's like new startup like co-ops that try to do something together. I haven't seen a lot of those succeed. There'll be a lot of interest, get a lot of people on board. They'll probably get a grant, and then that money kind of fizzles out, and then the projects fizzle. I haven't seen any of those really go big and actually make it work.
For federal level, just capital for the equipment that goes into that big truck, what is that around, cost-wise? Like,
I would think
is that a big deal?
I would think it'd be hard to do for less than $1 million. But
in equipment, just equipment.
Mike Calicrate would be the guy to talk to for that. Well, no, that would be all in. That would be for like the paperwork, for everything. But I mean, you might be able to do it for less. That would just be my gut instinct guess.
Yeah. Okay. Just maybe last thing is on all kinds of successful operations that are making money and all of that are willing to share. I mean, do you know that is that the kind of thing that we're trying to do, which is to open source successful ops? Because one thing I noticed pretty immediately, it's like somebody who's got a successful operation, they're not going to actually tell you the real details. Do you see that as an issue, or no? That's not really on your radar. Because I think from my perspective, it's about open collaboration stuff. I mean, that's a huge deal. Because if you could just get an enterprise model that works and it's proven, now it's for you to execute that, to learn that, that would just accelerate so many people in terms of getting on
Yeah,
board.
I am like fully on board with that vision. I'm very transparent about the way we set up our enterprises. I've laid it all out
With
multiple
economics and all
times
that.
at talks. I did a webinar for Practical Farmers of Iowa a few years ago that was just about like the meat marketing, and I was just like bare bones, like laid it out what we do.
Mm-hmm.
For that same reason, it's like, well, we got to have more people succeeding out here, and part of the problem with, I mean, it's just things change so fast in every place. Like we have like really unique constraints in our location. I've got a buddy doing basically the same thing that I do, but he's like between Chicago and Madison, and his marketing is like totally different from mine because he's like right next to like all these people. And so that really changes like
Mm-hmm.
what the optimal marketing and distribution strategy should be.
If we wanted to do
Um,
a 1,000 chicken operation here, like everything included, including mobile abattoir and all that, can you help us design that? We can hire you. Are you
Yeah,
hireable?
yeah, that's easy.
Mm-hmm.
That's easy. Yeah, there's plug and play stuff. I mean, I would recommend right there in Missouri, not too far from you, David Boatwright, Pasture Tech, and his mobile chicken houses. They're big hoop houses. I've got one. You can do 500 birds in a batch. Um, they're pricey, but they're not that expensive for like what you get. Um, and they're
Mm-hmm.
super close by. You just need a flatbed trailer and you could go get it.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Yeah, and cool, very cool. So yeah, we can talk about that. Yeah, yeah. So you got to go to your other meeting though. Mm-hmm.
yep, yeah, I gotta get going here.
Okay, okay. Well, Peter, thanks so much. So yeah, let's talk about it. I mean, let's see like if we could be ready for this the chicken operation or whatever, or however we can collaborate. Now in the summer, we are going to do this big event where we invite a lot of interesting people to talk, either just
Okay,
on site or talks and stuff. So maybe we can get you in on that to talk about this. Yeah.
sure,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that'd be awesome. Yeah, I think poultry is one that is sort of plug and play,
Okay.
scalable. You don't even have to be that constrained by land. I mean, I've got a buddy that does like 20, 30,000 birds a year on like 15 acres or something. I mean, you just you're importing grain is the feedstocks. You don't actually need like the extensive land base, and
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely a lot more modular than any other kind of livestock.
Okay. All right. Cool. Okay. Well, let's keep the discussion going, and yeah, let's.
Awesome.
Okay. Thanks for talking.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll talk soon.
Talk soon. Thank you.
Yep.
Bye bye.
Cheers.
Mm-hmm.